What is the definition of a czar?
That's a great question. A czar is lipstick on a pig. A czar is a public relations gambit intended to suggest that the president is seriously committed to something that he actually doesn't care about at all. Secret intelligence is of absolutely no interest to George Bush. He gets his intelligence straight from God or from Dick Cheney. So putting a czar in charge of intelligence, or a czar in charge of terrorism, or a czar in charge of drugs is, on the one hand, a public relations device, and on the other hand, a means of channeling vast amounts of funds in directions that don't actually do the job. And by the way, most czars don't have any power at all. What is happening here, what is happening in the world, is that populism is rearing its head. The public in many countries is beginning to realize that guns and corporations and drugs and crime are all connected. And dictators tend to be criminals. Hugo Chavez, and I've served in Venezuela, Hugo Chavez is a populist. It's absolutely fascinating to me that the Sandinistas are being elected democratically in Nicaragua. In America, we have 27 secessionist movements. And of course, we have a public demand to impeach Bush and Cheney. What is happening all over the world is that people are beginning to realize that world government and world corporations are bad for your health. Big is really, really bad. And in my personal opinion, the war on drugs and the continued prevalence of big corporations in the pharmaceutical and hospital and prison and military business areas is a threat to public security and public health. And what we need to do is get a grip on our local governments, and then our state governments, and then our national governments. And marijuana is right there at the seam of good business versus bad business, good government versus bad government. So marijuana really is almost the poster child for who's in charge. Sure. Well, first off, let me put this in three parts. Although I've signed a secrecy agreement, it doesn't apply to spontaneous remarks because they can't be reviewed in advance by CIA. I do submit my books for review by CIA, and they've always approved every book I've ever written, except for the last one, which was written with Congressman Simmons, and there was no time. There was a discussion held at CIA about whether my First Amendment rights trumped my secrecy agreement. And I'm told that the decision was made that it would cost CIA too much to try and shut me down. It would cost them more than it would cost me. And at the same time, I've never violated any secret. I mean, I've never said anything that was not true and legitimate, and I don't betray sources and methods. Other than telling Congress that CIA basically doesn't do secure operations.